today we'll be looking at this tiny set.
Let's be totally fair about this. This is tiny, but it should have been tinier. After all, it's called Go-Kart and race drivers. And I was expecting... I wasn't expecting. I looked at the box and I knew they were pretty big. And I thought that was a bit... it doesn't really capture what a go-kart should be. But then I changed my mind. I thought, you know what, it's a cheap set. Still think it's a lot of good value for the money. It brings two cars, two drivers, so there's that ability to kind of race them together. And that's probably why I felt a bit on the fence about this one. I remember having Formula One cars that were basically the same size as these. Not just like polybags or something like that. And the scale seems a bit off to me. So I felt, but in the end, it's sturdy as hell. They're really well built. They're really well designed. So it ticks all those boxes. Still, you look at them and you feel like they're too big for go-karts. And that's probably the thing that threw me off. On the other end, and this was the reason I ended up buying it, it has to do with little Easter eggs and how it connects. Everything is connected to other sets and creating this illusion of continuity that I really appreciate. And after building it, I kind of have the same the same feeling I had when building my original Formula One car race from 80 something, can't remember. They basically give you a base that is replicated for the two cars, and it's pretty much the same here. Not looking at the colors, half of the build is, or at least the first third of the build is pretty much the same. And then you start building on top, which is something that Lego has been doing for a long time. It's really coming up with a little recipe that defines a framework that then kids can obviously build upon. They start realizing, okay, so do we have this base for a go-kart or for a boat or whatever, and I can replicate that. And so you can see it on the aesthetics of the car, like the fenders, the engines, and the little shaping around the driver. And so it's really nice because you end up being able to create the idea that you can build many different models based on the same framework. Let's say €10 sets are probably the best bang for the buck, especially, and this is something it's a topic I really want to talk about on another video, which is the prices of Lego in the Netherlands. So things fluctuate a bit in Europe. We have the MSRP from Lego, of course, like United States, Canada, Australia, everywhere else. But then these sets tend to be like the high production sets from Lego. It's easy to find them on sale because those are really expected to be sold not just at Lego stores but everywhere else, and those are the ones that probably have a bigger margin of in the price fluctuation. And so I think I got this one for €8. If it wasn't 8, it was 9. It's really easy to find €20 sets at $17.99. So I think might have been $8.99 or something like that. And this is when in certain shops, that's the normal price they do, already reduced, and then sometimes they have sales. And I'll try to talk about it, and I hope to make a video about it. So it changes things even more. It's 10% off. That is very welcome. It's for the price, I think it's a really good set. I've said this in the past, where a set that has the idea of an antagonist, so a burglar and a cop, and it creates a lot more opportunities for play. And that's what people really want. Kids want, they want something. If it's just one car, yeah, you're racing by yourself. if you're enjoying the ride. But if you have two, things change drastically. There's been no shortage of racing sets lately. Well, it never really went away, but one that you get two racing cars from the same category, more or less, of racing sports. I don't remember seeing. There was this 15 euro set pack, or was it 10, with two race cars, and they were not even related in terms of sports. One was like a sport prototype, and the other was kind of a rally car, I think. And so they were completely different. And then you have also the custom garages, where those are kind of they're more about customization, I would say. That set came out last year, I think. But it's nice to have something that feels, it feels like it belongs to something, that there's something bigger, and then maybe kids will buy one or two of these sets and have like two teammates build their own base based on the spare parts they have. So it's always nice. And again, that's why I say these sets are the ones that probably guarantee a lot more fun. They're easier to take apart and put back together again, and at least for me as a kid, that was a thing. And also back then, in the 80s and 90s, sets had a lot less pieces. So that was a reality. Nowadays you build and you almost feel like displaying automatically, and a lot of adults that buy Lego, normally it's not Lego City probably, but a lot of them really, that's what they do. Ultimately, I don't have kids, so I don't know how they would play. I know people that have kids that have tons of Lego, and it's funny to see how they play. But big sets, like they had this big Ninjago dragon that came up last year, I think, and the way they play, it's more about play than creating, and that's something that it's curious, and it all comes down to how kids are introduced to Lego. And for me, it was all about the big box, just throw things in, until I got my bigger sets, and my bigger sets were always inside their own box. I would stop playing and put them in box, which back then they were pretty hefty boxes. They were pretty large. You could just throw in a lot of the construction without tearing it apart too much. And like I was saying, it all comes down to small sets. For me, are really the ones that you end up valuing a bit more and feeling less overwhelmed by the idea of putting it apart. But I'd like to know if there's anyone with kids, how do they play with Lego? And how do you play with Lego if you're an adult? If you play, or if you just display them, or if you're like me and like to have some sets just inside a big box of bricks for whatever reason. One of the reasons I ended up buying this set was the little Easter eggs, and there's actually two. First, and when I review this one, I'll make sure to go deeper on it, but it's the same team, same color scheme, same kind of graphics, very I would say this one is very Miami Vicey, teal and pink. Come on. Would it be nice if the driver was wearing this kind of Italian suit with a slip-on and t-shirt? And this one comes with a color scheme that hasn't been seen for like 7 years, which was the Dragster Transporter, with a team called Gear Team Racing or something like that. And I recognized this color scheme, this yellow, which is flaming yellowish, something like that, and the dark blue. And boy, I had to look at through all Lego City sets and try to find it, because I knew there was a truck or something with this kind of colors, and then I found it and I was like, I knew it. So it's nice how it connects to these two racing teams, and that's where I see a bit more value, because I geek out with those little connections between sets. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. In the end, you can just look at this set a bit like the two teams just having fun. Well, I mean, there's a cup here, so I think it was a competition. Either way, yeah, go-karts are fun. I would probably agree with one of the things that Jang said on the review of this set, which is they sit too tall. And they introduce a new part here, which is the bracket on the side, which is a 4x1 with actually 4x2x1, and there was no need to use that part. They could have used the normal 2x2 2x1 by 2 instead, or even the 2x1 with the 4-stud bracket. I have no idea what's the name of those. And this would make the driver 1 stud lower. It would be less, maybe less sturdy, probably, I imagine. But it would have made it so much more, at least for me, so much more realistic somehow. I do value that kind of little things in Lego, where there's this bit of realism. Everything else can be very creative, but if there's that little detail that grounds it, it makes everything completely different. And that's probably those little things I really like when Lego does it, and when it does it well. So yeah, surprised in the Easter egg department. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And they're cool little things, and they have a lot of play potential. And I cannot wait to review the race car and carrier truck set and put them side by side to compare the livery. Other than that, yeah, great bang for the buck, I would say. A lot of play potential. They're well built. They're sturdy. And they're really nice at creating that framework for kids to understand that they can build up on top of this. I think it's a fair price for 10 euros. Yeah, Lego should keep on doing them, making these and not inflate prices, because it makes a big difference when you're on these sets. Which then you'll see Lego sometimes releasing those 13, 14, 15 euro sets, like this year's Bigfoot truck thingy, that I cannot find anywhere, strangely enough. At least on sale, that's the thing. But the 10 euro range, I think it's been a hit every year. So really glad to see it again. Finally, and I will start asking this question because I think it's very important. So I'll be reviewing these sets a bit based on, is it box worthy or not box worthy? Unfortunately, I will not be able to rate 10 euro sets that way, because I just throw them inside the big box of bricks and get rid of the packaging, which is a shame. Would I have kept the box? Nah. This one is going straight to the bin. So hope to see you on the next episode. Let's not call episode, let's just call them videos. So I'm still trying to figure out this review building thing to make sure that I have the time to do everything. So a lot of the things I'm doing here is a lot of experimentation, and I have no idea where this is going. There's a lot of things and processes I don't really master yet. So we'll see. For next week, I hope to bring you the race car carrier truck. I'm trying to read from here. It's the other way around. We'll see. See you soon.